BeefBroth3600.
There's very little in this world as timeless as those patterns they put on bus seats, but also the Half-Life formula. You see a thing that moves, you shoot it, good job. But what should you do if you're afraid of computers but need a DVD player? Well, simple. You buy a PlayStation 2 Slim on eBay, a copy of Half-Life, a memory card, a controller, AV cables, an AC adapter, and an RCA to HDMI converter box, probably. Once all those things come in the mail, congratulations, you can now play the least good port of Half-Life ever. Half-Life. That thing you know is good but didn't play till a few years ago. You just can't go wrong. God, the guns, the explosions, the aliens, there's just so much fun potential here. Gee, I can't wait to see all the amazing things Valve is going to do with this franchise in the next 28 years. But anyway, let's reshift focus. After blowing away the industry in 1998, Valve treated us to 2 new expansion packs featuring the same story played through new sets of eyes, filling us in on the going-ons outside of Gordon Freeman's view. In the first expansion, Opposing Force, you play as a US Marine soldier infiltrating the Black Mesa facility. In the second expansion, Blue Shift, you play as security guard Barney Calhoun, escaping the facility and circumventing Army soldiers. These 2 expansions, however, were developed by Gearbox rather than Valve. But were they good? Yeah, they were good. The only real complaints about these 2 expansions, if anything, were just that it was more of the same. Nothing genre redefining like the original, but still indisputable fun. So now that Half-Life and its 2 expansions are smash hits on PC, how about getting console players in on the fun? So now it's 2001. What's the hottest thing on the market right now? What's the most obvious platform to put Half-Life on where it'll be a guaranteed smash hit? That's right, the Dreamcast. Gearbox fully ported Half-Life to Dreamcast with its very own exclusive expansion pack, but due to quote-unquote changing market conditions, aka the console being straight up discontinued after selling like boxed cancer for 3 years, the Dreamcast port was thrown the way of the shitter. And what happened to that exclusive expansion pack? Well, that was released on PC instead and ended up being Blue Shift. So now what? Gearbox just spent a whole lot of time and effort porting one of the greatest games of all time to one of the poorest selling mainstream consoles of all time. And what a shame, too. The Dreamcast is awesome and would have been a great way to play this game. But instead, Gearbox finally sneezed out the spoon that was stuck in their brains and decided, why not just port it to the best-selling console ever? And now, here we are. Half-Life on PlayStation 2. Wow, this is just like playing Half-Life on a Dreamcast, except it's not a Dreamcast and it's a PlayStation 2. So what of it? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's Half-Life. All the fun of Half-Life, but considerably worse because you're using a DualShock 2 instead of a computer mouse. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's not that good. But if this was how you were first introduced to Half-Life back in the day, you know what? That would be just okay. But wait a minute, it's 2001. This game came out 3 years ago. Why the hell would I play this now? All this talk of advanced AI and industry-first physics just aren't that impressive anymore. And it's 2001, so I only care about games being 3D and graphically impressive instead of fun. Well, worry not, douchebag. Gearbox built an all-new expansion pack exclusive to the PlayStation 2 port to get people to stoke their Half-Life boners back to full chub. And that expansion was none other than Half-Life Decay. Well, what's the deal with it? What's it about? Well, the gimmick in this game is that you play as women. Half-Life fans the world over just couldn't wait to see them in action alongside their favorite playable characters. You have theoretical physicist Gordon Freeman, United States Marine officer Adrian Shepard, beloved facility security guard Barney Calhoun, and 2 vagina people. Nothing makes me want to play a game more than 2 rockin' babes. They even have names. But that's not all. This expansion pack is a co-op mission-based campaign. That's right, for the first time ever, officially, Half-Life is getting its very own multiplayer campaign. Well, after playing Opposing Force and Blue Shift, I think it's fair to say Gearbox is definitely capable of expanding the Half-Life universe a 3rd time. And now with multiplayer, they really have an opportunity to innovate the formula, rather than just shipping more of the same like critics said about the first 2 expansions. Think of all the puzzles you could come up with for 2 players, or combat with US soldiers where you gotta stealth your way through with one another and have each other's backs. Or maybe missions where you work together on different sides of the facility, flipping switches and opening doors for the other player while you solve your own puzzles and meet in the middle. I mean, it sounds awesome. New story, new characters, new gameplay, no brainer. And if you wanted to check that out, well, sorry, you gotta pick up the PS2 version. Unlike Opposing Force and Blue Shift, Decay is the only Half-Life game to never see a PC release, and to this day is still stuck on the PlayStation 2. If you want to play Decay officially, you'll need a PS2 controller and a copy of the game. No other way. You can't play it on a PS5 with backwards compatibility, you can't find it in Valve's catalog on Steam, and you can't buy it digitally on any platform anywhere. Half-Life Decay is in one place ever, and that place is on this disc right here. So let's look at Valve's least loved Half-Life, Half-Life Decay. The first thing you need to know about Half-Life Decay is that it's not an open-world stitched-together game. In the original solo campaign, you don't take breaks in between chapters. You just kind of mosey on into the next. The whole game is pretty much one long linear mission, while Decay is split up into 9 separate missions, all 10 to 20 minutes long. There is no difficulty option, but there is a player count option. While you can play this game solo, it was built around split-screen multiplayer, and that's how I'll be playing it. But don't worry, we'll talk about playing it solo later on. Let's just jump into it. Meet Gina Cross and Colette Green, or as a misogynist would say, 2 sets of tits. The two begin their first mission assisting Dr. Keller and Dr. Rosenberg in readying an analysis for Gordon Freeman. Before we get our hands on anything that could kill an entire continent, we have to make our way through the security protocols. What most people don't realize is that Half-Life Decay actually has an astonishing amount of lore that fills in quite a few gaps in the original game's story. Gina and Colette are the only other people in the whole franchise besides Gordon Freeman to have ever been seen wearing an HEV suit. They report to Dr. Keller, who is running an experiment parallel to Gordon Freeman's in another part of the facility. As is explained in both games, the scientists are pressured to push the equipment beyond safe levels. And as Gordon's experiment goes wrong, Keller's experiment, sharing the same energy grid, goes the way of the pisser too, leading to explosions, dimensional rifts, and best of all, the government killing innocent people. So now Gina and Colette have to patch things up and help Rosenberg and Keller contact help and prevent further destruction of the facility. So the girls have to put their lives on the line and help save the world from certain destruction. If they aren't too busy having their periods, that is. But before I go further, let's talk about the basics. Split-screen multiplayer. This game was designed with a 16:9 and a 4:3 option depending on your TV. 16:9 displays vertical split screen and 4:3 displays horizontal split. The girls kind of stand like dipshits. What the hell is this? She looks like she's permanently bone damaged. Like she should be holding a crowbar, but since we don't have them yet, the game still uses the crowbar stance because there is no other idle pose. If you've played Half-Life, you know the deal. You can crouch, jump, run, think, shoot, live. You go through the Black Mesa facility solving puzzles and killing bad guys. You can interact with objects, press buttons, and talk to people. It's always fun no matter how many times it just comes down to pressing a button on the wall. For some reason, you just can't get tired of the Gold Source engine. There's something so infinite about it. The main authority of Half-Life Decay's story is Dr. Richard Keller, who, and this has nothing to do with the game or its quality, but I just thought you as a viewer might enjoy this piece of trivia, is known internally in the game's files as, and I swear to God, I'm not joking, Monster_Wheelchair. Most other NPCs are just called Monster_ and then their name, but Keller is just called Wheelchair. As if his name is Dr. Wheelchair. I just thought that was humorous. So Dr. Wheelchair is pressured by the man upstairs to push the facility beyond its limits, and that's why we're here. But as you may have guessed, he's not as physically able as us ladies, so he'll be camping out here like a lazy shitbag while we do literally everything. We set things up in the facility, things go wrong, and here we are. Now, take note of this checkpoint here because this is the only checkpoint in the entire game. Earlier, I said that these missions are all 10 to 20 minutes long, so that's not terrible. But you'll soon see why that is absolutely beyond terrible. Some missions are longer than others, but in general, expect 2 average people to get through a mission in about 15 minutes once you know what you're supposed to be doing. The rest of this mission is meant to introduce you to combat. We each pick up a crowbar and get to work. Nothing is explained. You just gotta know what you're doing. But what if you don't? Well, Half-Life features a training course. It'll tell you everything you need to know about how to get through the game. But of course, that tutorial is meant for Half-Life, not necessarily Half-Life Decay. If you've played Blue Shift, you know that that game has an alternate training course designed specifically for Barney and the slightly different gameplay you'll experience in that game. Opposing Force goes all out and has a full-on completely redesigned, much more fitting boot camp. But Decay just has nothing. There's no tutorial teaching 2 players how to work together. You could just both play the Half-Life training course separately, but that course has a lot of stuff that just doesn't exist in Decay. And even if you've both played through the original game, Decay just does some stuff differently. And the irony on top of all of it is that while Colette Green is a new character, Gina Cross is actually the holograph that gives Gordon the tutorial in the original game. So you play as the woman who gives a tutorial, but you don't actually get a tutorial. I guess there's a paradox there if she did have one. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to learn about breaking crates, jumping through windows, and using buttons and switches all on your own. The mission ends with Dr. Wheelchair and Dr. Rosenberg devising a plan to restore power to the facility systems. And just like that, our first mission is complete. Well, that was fun. Nothing too crazy, but that core Half-Life fun is definitely there. At the end of each mission, both players are ranked based on their performance. This is where you'll find out who sucks and who sucks slightly more.
I have homosexual tendencies.
The second mission is all about restoring the power grid with the help of Dr. Rosenberg, which is such a Jewish name, by the way. The hitboxes in this game are something else. It's like the cameras are in our tits. And then when crouching, we get vag cam. The crosshair is a vague thing. Wherever your model is pointing, you're actually going to be shooting like 4 miles above that. I don't know how they just let that slide because it's ridiculous. So the elevator's jammed or some dumb shit, and Dr. Jewish informs us that we'll need to find a way to the control system through other means. So off we go. Dr. Wheelchair and Dr. Jewish seem to have some conflicting priorities, but what do we care? A big trend in this game is other people telling us to do shit because we have the HEV suits. But you look at the people who say it, and it's all these scrawny little eggheads. Fucking four-eyed nerds. Our lift to the surface isn't working, so the girls have to venture through the abandoned training course and make their way to the maintenance shaft and raise the elevator manually so we can get to surface level. Okay, sounds good. Now that we have this mission's story out of the way, it's time to rip this game apart. Let me start off by saying this game has one major issue that makes it almost unplayable. Yes, I mean it, but let's hold off on that for a second. How do you play this game? Well, you'll be using a DualShock 2. There's a few different preset button maps, but you can always fully customize them however you want. The mapping graphics don't change though for Decay. Like, you can map your flashlight even though in the entire Decay campaign you never get a flashlight. That's because these settings are shared between the main solo campaign and Decay. If you'd like though, don't forget that this game supports a USB keyboard and mouse controls. Yes, that's right. Play Half-Life how it was meant to be played, with a plastic Logitech keyboard and an old HP mouse that sounds broken when you shake it. Since you can only plug one keyboard and mouse into the PlayStation 2, only one player can use it while the other is stuck using a DualShock. And no, using a USB hub doesn't let you use multiple mice and keyboards. Weirdly though, I ran into some odd issues where some mouse inputs would occasionally fuck with the second player's camera. Like if you jitter it around, player 2's camera will start twitching for some reason. What the hell is the code behind that? And the keyboard and mouse always defaults to player 1, so if you'd rather use the DualShock and your buddy wants to use the keyboard and mouse, then guess what? You just became the secondary bitch boy. You're nothing now. But if you do get stuck using the DualShock, is it so bad? No, I mean, it's not great. Actually, you know what? It's pretty shit. I mapped the lock-on button to R1, but even then, locking onto an enemy can be so fucking shit. Your reticle needs to be on them when you press the button to lock on, and as you can imagine, unless they're close enough to pretty much kill you, getting a tiny red dot to cover an enemy in 4x3 split screen is easier said than done. And when mixed with this sensitivity, good fucking god. Oh, well, just turn the sensitivity down. No, shut the fuck up. Look at this. Look at this, you asshole. Turn the sensitivity down and you'll spin at the speed of sloth sex. And later in the game, good luck not getting ass raped when vorts you can't find start attacking you from a direction you're not facing. So basically, combat with the DualShock comes down to a game of timing. You're gonna swing the reticle past the enemy and try to time it so that you press the lock-on button in one of the 6 frames your reticle is close enough to actually lock on. It blows, but I'll tell you this, it does get easier. Once you do it enough, you'll start to get the timing down, but by no means does it ever become a non-issue. You'll just have to find ways to work around it. In other instances of Half-Life controller-based aim assist, I feel like it just works. And you know what? If it fucks up, then who cares? I can take a few hits. But here, a single hit can ruin everything, and I'm not joking. After making our way past the training room, we pick up a pair of shotguns. Most missions introduce a new weapon or two that, once you collect it, becomes available in all missions after the one you found them in. There's a lot of other small things that this game does to keep the players on their toes, but let's hold off for a moment. This is only mission 2, and we're just about at the end of it. Now this is some bullshit. There's a million reasons why this is stupid. First of all, I understand that Dr. Jewish's dialogue explains a lot of the obstacles to you, but he doesn't always explain them too explicitly, so if you missed what he said 99% of the time, you're just on your own. And let's just remember the context of this for a minute. You and a friend are sitting on a couch together playing a game where the most common sound expelled is gunshots. What are the odds you aren't sitting in complete silence every random time Dr. Jewish opens his stupid fucking mouth? You're gonna miss shit. Not everything this fuck-ass says is gonna reach your ears like fucking gospel. So what happens? You die. Once you open the elevator here, a sentry gun immediately shoots the living shit out of you, and of course, if you're sitting in complete silence and your in-game metallic foot folly isn't drowning out the sound of his over-compressed voice, then you'll hear him warn you of this and say that you'll have to destroy them. Well, if you don't already know to shoot the sentry to destroy it, then you'll just have to figure that one out, because there is no visual sign that it is at all being damaged when you shoot it. And I feel like that just should normally be that big of a deal, but when there's 3 people in an elevator being shot at and you and your buddy are confused on what the hell you're supposed to do, chances are one of you is getting shot to death, and if one person dies, the mission ends. Yep, that's right. Join everywhere but at the hip. There is no reviving. There is no extra lives. If you die, fuck you and fuck your friend. Anyway, once you make it through here, Dr. Jewish opens the surface door and we ready ourselves for the next mission. Perfect. The next mission is much longer than the previous and sees the girls making their way through a facility to reach the Satellite Communications Center. The idea is that once we get the satellite set up, we can contact the military and finally get some help. Before I go any further here, there's something I haven't mentioned yet. Something that plagues this game like AIDS. Something that turns a passable experience into something unfucking bearable. Turns a 6.5 into a 3. Turns a room temperature Dasani into a brain-damaged pile of moist wood. And that, simply, is the fact that this game is unbelievably hard. This game has one difficulty, and that is balls to the walls hell. It's not easy. Maybe not the hardest thing in the world if you both know what you're doing, but boy oh boy can this game sting like piss in a flesh wound. Let me tell you right now, this game is for people who love Half-Life. You need two people who just want to beat this game. Here's the big issue. The difficulty itself isn't the worst thing in the world. You can just get good. If at first you don't succeed, then try again. Just grow a set of balls and learn to be good. No white tanuki suit here. No baby bitch mode for dumb floppy pussies. You either get good or go back to playing Elmo's Number Journey. And you know what? I can get behind that. I have no problem with difficulty. I love difficulty. Make me work for the credits. I'm all for it. There's something about a tough multiplayer game that requires two people to learn together that's just so fun and exciting, but that's not the problem. Gearbox can expect me to get the bill-paying skills, but I do not have the saint-like patience this game requires. It all comes down to the very simple fact that there are no checkpoints. None at all. The only checkpoint in the entire game is in Mission 1, just after the Resonance Cascade. Well, how fucking perfect is that? The only checkpoint in the entire game, and it's impossible to die before you reach it. Doesn't that make great sense? What a lovely fuck you it is that the only checkpoint in the entire game is right after the only portion you can't die in. Who the fuck did that? What an asshole. Well, I'm telling you right now, if you want to play this game, you better find the fucking patience, because good God. There's a major difference between difficulty from fairness and difficulty from flaws. Earlier I said that these missions last around 10 to 15 minutes, which they should, but they don't. What the hell does that mean? Well, just stick with me here and you'll slowly start to find out what I mean. You know, yeah, this game's tough and all, but the best reason why the lack of checkpoints is so dickish is because this is a Gold Source game from 2001. This game isn't exactly the most stable thing in the world. Sometimes fecal matter occurs and you just fucking die for no reason. That's the best. To be so deep into a mission, then die because the floor decided fuck you. To watch helplessly as Dr. Jewish gets stuck in a door and takes backshots from a bunch of vorts. To turn a corner and see the whole run end because your partner didn't check every fucking inch of every room. It's the worst. It makes you want to shoot your family. You gotta go through these levels and learn how to dot your I's and cross your T's, because one fuck up can set you back 15 minutes. And that's just gonna happen. You're gonna get hit. Everyone and everything is out to kill you. And when that happens, guess what? Listen to the same unskippable spiel, run through the same areas, kill the same enemies. It's the fucking worst. But the mission ends with Dr. Jewish contacting Dr. Wheelchair, and we're told that we need to head underground to meet with Dr. Wheelchair. A mission that should, under normal circumstances, maybe take a pair around 15 minutes to beat, ended up being a several-hour torment, because remember, if one player dies, then you start over. And like I said, when you're using a DualShock to aim on half of a 4x3 screen, you're just gonna get hit. Sorry, asshole. But those aren't the only ways your mission will end. There is no friendly fire, which is good, but there's nothing stopping the doctors from catching a stray. Feeling goofy and want to smack Dr. Wheelchair? You just killed him and now the mission is over. Bet you wish you knew that before you finally made it to the end of the mission. Did Dr. Jewish glitch and get stuck in a doorway? Better pray there's no enemies around, because if there are, they're gonna fucking kill him. Maybe don't let the NPCs get stuck in doors, asshole. And what about you? Did you accidentally get stuck in the floor because this game is from 1998? Sounds like a you problem. Maybe just don't get stuck in the floor, idiot.
Man, do I love call.
Good fucking God almighty. Welcome to what may be the most painful mission in this whole hellish experience. Mission 4, here we are. In this mission, the girly poos must re-engage a dampering field because Dr. Wheelchair believes it will close the resonance cascade. However, there seems to be some interference with the equipment that Gina and Colette are gonna have to deal with. This all to close the rift while we wait for help from the military. Okay, so let me tell you how cooperation works. I've been complaining a lot, but does this game actually deliver on what it offers? Well, yeah, there's certainly some unique multiplayer elements. Most missions play out with the girls splitting up and reconnecting. Usually we start together and then reach a point where we need to split up to progress. The thing is, though, is that many of these instances require one of the players to just do nothing. Here's what I mean. The entrance to this vent is blocked by electrified water. If you somehow manage to figure out this puzzle, which is one of the most bizarre in this game by far, by the way, one player crouches on the desk and presses a button over the vent. The other player has to stand in the doorway it opens. And then once you block the doorway from closing, it'll just keep jamming. But this makes the electrocution stop for some reason, if you can make that make any fucking sense. That's a weird-ass puzzle. Why would anyone assume that? There's nothing intuitive about that. But now the first player can crawl into the vent. They have to fight their way through head crabs, vorts, and grunts while pushing through an office complex. All the while, the other player stands still, jamming a door. This is what I mean when I say the co-op can sometimes just feel like taking turns having fun. This happens a lot in the missions. One person does one thing while the other person does nothing. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, right? I mean, it doesn't really throw off the gameplay, and often it's just entertaining enough to watch the other player do something for the 30 seconds you're standing still. Usually the game will spawn in an enemy once the other player reaches a certain area just to keep you on your toes. It's alright. Part of me wishes they would have spiced up these portions a bit more, but they're infrequent and short enough to where you wouldn't ever put down the controller and sigh in anticipation of being allowed to play again. Once the player reaches the security desk and opens the door for the other player, you get access to the Magnum and a fuck ton of ammo. It's moments like this that are awesome, especially for two people playing together, like a whole room full of guns and ammo. You just know some shit's coming up. This is the first mission with the grunt enemies, and they suck dick. They'll do a shit ton of damage to you if you don't take them out quickly, and you better learn the enemy weak spots if you want to stay alive. These guys suck. Here's a good example of co-op gameplay. While one person turns the valve, the other has to protect them from incoming enemies that spawn directly behind them. Sometimes you get 2 head crabs, other times you get 6 grunts, and that's not an exaggeration. You better learn where all the health and ammo is hidden in these levels because there are just some portions you cannot get past without freshening up. There are multiple points in this level where you're just gonna take a fuck ton of damage, no questions asked. You can get past 1 or 2, but when it's grunt after grunt after grunt after grunt, I'm sorry, but no checkpoints is ridiculous. How many times can I go through this just for one player to get ass fucked by an enemy and take the whole team down with them? It gets to be so tedious. This mission is just packed with bullshit. This room full of vorts, you're gonna take damage. The surprise spawning grunt, you're taking damage. And while you do that, your partner's gonna take damage from this other grunt. Now, the 2 valves that you have to slowly turn, yeah, you're taking damage. Shooting grunts through the ceiling, then taking on even more on the roof, you're taking damage. Break the vent to continue moving forward, a grunt spawns in next to you, you're taking damage. Then finally, the final portion of this level. An 8-minute long enemy spam where one player has to spend 2 of those minutes spinning a valve. Yeah. At this point, the 2 players are permanently separated for the rest of the level, so you have to help each other out from a distance. But just imagine all of this in one go. 2 people doing well enough to not die. It's insane. From what I understand, this is where a lot of people give up on the game. It just becomes so unfun. If you manage to find the secret health container in this final area, it's not too bad, but still. Getting here is just such an annoying pain in the ass. All this headache because the devs couldn't design levels with checkpoints. Jesus Christ, it's just the worst. Die, 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 get railed, get fucked, eat shit. This game does not give you a single break. If you fuck up, then start over. It quickly goes from challenging to unfair with this mission. Easily the mission that most desperately needs a checkpoint to make it in any way bearable. This mission took about 3.5 hours to beat because of the unbearable difficulty. It requires immense precautions every corner you turn. It's definitely fun to shoot things, and the general gameplay is so fun, but this mission is everything wrong with Half-Life Decay. It's everything that makes Half-Life great without everything that makes it fair. The difficulty, the action, the puzzle solving, the way you return to areas with new things to do, how the whole area feels connected and lived in, completely ruined by the lack of checkpoints, the uncompensated health and ammo seemingly not adjusted for 2 people, and most of all, the absolute burden the 2 players become for each other. I understand the idea of the mission being uncompletable without both players alive, but because of all the other issues apparent in this game, above being your partner and a second pair of eyes, the other player is first and foremost a burden to you. Above all else, a liability. If you could revive the other player in areas accessible to both of you, maybe that would fix a lot of the problems, but unfortunately, because of your equal importance to each other, your partner will always feel like a burden above all. Like you're in the middle of some combat, doing great, and the mission ends. Or maybe your partner left you behind and you get ambushed out of nowhere. Mission over. Or maybe one of you just simply fuck up. Basic mistake you couldn't help. Well, still, you just ruined the run for you and your partner. Fuck this mission and fuck your partner.
I must bust a knot on your feet.
Alright, so Dr. Wheelchair wants us to create a resonance reversal using the prototype displacement beacon, whatever the fuck that means. We gotta use the vaporwave flim-flam to generate an inside-out supernova shpippin' butkiss for the hoople-doops. I don't know, I'm not a nerd. But he wants to launch a satellite into orbit, but we can't do that without security access. And how do we get security access? Well, we gotta find Barney and bring him back to Dr. Wheelchair so we can use his ID to get clearance. So this one's just a search and rescue mission, basically. Let's talk about graphics. In 2001, when this game came out, these graphics were nothing impressive. They weren't garbage, but the world had seen far greater things by this point. That being said, this is one of the most inconsistently optimized games I've ever played. Within the span of 8 seconds, the game can shuffle through 40 different frame rates. Standard, the game runs at this beautiful, silky smooth 60, but as I'm sure you can imagine, it almost never hits that in multiplayer. Most often, you're looking at a frame rate that's holding on to 25 FPS like Chris Christie holding on to a sandwich. You're not separating the two. Sometimes the game looks completely fine, even during combat. but good God, help you when the shit starts going down. It feels like emulating this in a Google slide. As impressive as it is for this game to be running on a PS2, I can't help but be disappointed by how unoptimized it is for this exclusive campaign. And again, I know I can't expect a PS2 to run this kind of split screen at a solid 60, but I sure wish it would just aim for something and stick to it. Sometimes the frame drops can just be so disorienting. This mission's actually pretty fun, I'll admit. Aside from getting assault rifles, the length is good and the difficulty's pretty fair. You just gotta watch out for hidden marines that'll fuck you in the ass if you're not paying attention. The whole idea here is that you're trying to get to the library where Barney is hiding. But to get there, you run through the pool and locker room, and there's even an open cafeteria. Why is this facility where an alien rift just opened built like a fucking YMCA? You also can get access to snarks this mission, which can be a huge help when dealing with these soldiers down the halls. What a step down in difficulty for Mission 4, Christ almighty. The final stretch of the mission involves cleaning out the library and paving a safe path for Barney to walk his stupid ass downstairs back to Dr. Wheelchair. We get him over to the lift, the two talk about dumb nerd shit, then we call it a day. Now we head off to the Black Mesa Air Control Facility.
I have a yellow micro key.
Here we go. Okay, so this mission is different. The whole goal here is just to wipe out a civilization. Every soldier here needs to fucking die. That's it. Kill everyone. The first half of this mission is spent separate. One person goes in the vents to open a doorway, while the other player watches Barney get shot and then finish the job he sucked too much to even get started. There's a guy waiting to bomb you also right outside the elevator. Really cool the devs to put him there. Definitely feels extremely fair when he kills you and you have to restart the mission. It's not even worth going into the nitty-gritty of this mission. You just kill guys. But check this out. We get to the roof, go outside, and there's a fucking heliplane. In terms of obstacles, this mission is far from heliplane. This part kinda sucks a bit, even though it's cool. You gotta shoot the propellers on both sides of the plane, but no one tells you that. You'll just shoot it until you run out of ammo and then you're fucked. How great is that? Eventually you'll figure that out, but the greatest thing here is the soldiers down at the bottom throwing grenades up at you while you're trying to take this fucking helicopter down. What the hell is all this shit? So I'm looking up, using all my ammo, taking down this helicopter, and at the same time, I'm dancing around to avoid grenades I can't even see being thrown at me. And by the way, even if you have terrific accuracy shooting this plane, it still takes almost all your ammo to tank it. This mission had very little puzzle solving and was all about combat, and honestly, I feel like this is the best example so far of how the co-op aspect just wasn't done totally correctly. You step outside, there's a giant fucking helicopter shooting at you, and there's grenades being thrown up at your feet. If you need to reload or take cover, your only option is to step back inside. So a lot of the time, both players just act as a burden to each other. It can get so fucking frustrating because on one hand, you want to head back inside to take cover, but you're both looking up and aren't paying attention to one another. So you'll end up just blocking the door, forcing each other into grenades, and worst of all, if one person does decide to head in and reload or something, their partner may just end up dying before they get the chance to head back out again. It kind of once again highlights the core flaw of this game, and that is that often, your partner is more of just a nuisance than they are a help to you. And that's not a shot at the person you're playing with, but at some point, the pressure of balancing your own health and ammo while having your partner's back becomes an all-or-nothing thought. There is no one without the other. If you step away, you're most likely going to see a game over screen. That's just how it is. And in the heat of the moment, you're not always going to be able to properly communicate exactly what you need to do so your partner can properly react. It's all just such a mess sometimes. After clearing the outside, we head back inside to use the communication system to lift the military air traffic lockdown. Whoop-de-fucking-do.
Nice. Fuka, bitch.
Prototype equipment must be used to seal the dimensional rift. Manually raise the displacement beacon into place. How about you manually raise this fucking dick in your mouth, you pieces of shit? Mission 7 is all about manually raising the prototype displacement beacon because Dr. Wheelchair can't reach it. And of course, the way to get there is through the sewer. This mission has a lot of bullshit that just shows up. You'll end up backtracking a bit, and suddenly a fresh batch of asshats are waiting for you to turn the corner. This mission's a bit uneventful, to tell you the truth. The beginning portion in the sewer is kind of fun, but after that, it just becomes a series of similar-looking rooms and Star Wars catwalks. Some of the puzzles are pretty fun, albeit reliant on the Gold Source engine's fucked-up physics, but what are you gonna do? Speaking of fun, this mission features a very nice instant death obstacle that shows up towards the tail end of the level. Isn't that nice? This steam here, if you touch it, you die instantly. And it's about 10 minutes in. Isn't that great? You've got to twist these valves to change the paths available, but you know, sometimes people just be making mistakes, and God knows you're gonna go straight to hell if you design anything in this game that is in any way reasonably forgiving in the slightest. Now's a good time to mention something. This game loves functioning questionably. Sometimes you'll get stuck, sometimes an NPC will glitch, but sometimes everyone's favorite bug occurs. That's right, the game just fucking crashes. Nice. In my playthrough of this game, I can recall at least 4 instances where the game just straight up crashed. It's great. You gotta love it. As if the unpredictable garbage this game throws at you isn't reason enough to kill your wife, let's just add some crashes in there too. I mean, fuck it. Maybe even a loud screeching audio glitch too, just for good measure. This game's instability really adds to the crippling agita you'll develop from playing through this. The mission caps off with a puzzle where you twist a cherry picker flim-flam up on a platform so the other player can turn off a valve and you can enter the underground. Down here, you can optional co-op the displacement beacon back up to working. And that's it. Every time you beat a mission, you let out this big sigh like Stephen Hawking just picked someone else for his dodgeball teammate. I feel like this isn't healthy.
My name is Dr. Elevator B.
Mission 8. Probably the most puzzle-heavy level here. Aside from that, though, by this point, you better have learned how to conserve your health, because this is where shit gets fucked. The fuck shittage goes through the roof. Let's just start with the big puzzle here. The whole goal is to activate the beam matrix, which coincidentally is shaped like a Half-Life puzzle. Then we gotta defend it from the space goons. To reach it, though, we work our way through the lab, where some failed test subjects are dying to kill us. There's a bunch of grunts stuck in these tubes. Thankfully, they don't go after us, but unless you have the IQ of a foot, you may be able to predict what's going to happen here. The lab even has bisexual lighting. Just before we reach the beam matrix, these fucking grunts are blocking the path, and this is where your run could just go to complete shit. You need to conserve health, and the toxic green dog shit sprinkled on the floor doesn't make it any easier. There's very little medkits in here, and there's a lot more enemies you're going to be dealing with later, so if you take too many hits early on, just pay a loved one to run you over, because you're not getting back to Keller and Rosenberg. The beam matrix puzzle requires the girls to split up. Both Colette and Gina have to split the responsibilities of puzzle solving and bad guys shooting evenly. It's this big red, green, and blue laser thing here. The idea is that one person stays in the lab to move the lasers and one goes underground to move these reflecting panels around. The panel person needs the right colors to hit the corresponding crystal, and the beam spewer needs to combine the right colors to generate the correct beam. Once all 3 crystals are activated and all 3 layers are on, the girls have to meet in the middle so Gina can open a door and bring Colette back to the entrance where they can leave and meet back up with Dr. Wheelchair. Now the bullshit starts. Holy goddamn shit. Fuck this. The enemy spam is a little bit too ridiculous. Every single grunt locked up in those tubes breaks free, and the air just becomes a monsoon of homing missiles and flying bullshit. And of course, every death results in you doing this whole beam matrix crap one more time. 10 minutes of mostly painless gameplay turns into boring tedium when you die to the first fat fuck just around the corner. And this isn't even the worst of it. If you both manage to survive your own personal waves of grunts, and what else is waiting for you there other than a massive swarm of vorts? So, with whatever health you've managed to maintain this entire time, you're gonna run around taking even more hits, just so you can go back to the elevator, and guess what's waiting for you just at the top of the elevator? Another fucking grunt. What the hell is this shit? And this grunt was just outside the room Dr. Wheelchair is waiting in? So he just spawned in and decided to wait for us instead of getting an easy kill. Fuck this shit. This level feels like an enemy spam endurance test. The game is preparing you for what is yet to come, and you'll see what I mean very soon.
My top one, Uranus.
Oh my fucking god, get ready to kill your dog because this shit sucks so much indescribable dick. Welcome to Mission 9, the end of life's journey. All roads point to Half-Life Decay Mission 9. I remember being just a boy and my mother asked me, "Bear man, could you please take out the trash?" And I responded with Half-Life Decay Mission 9, and that's how she knew I was suicidal. If you think Mission 4 was piss, oh boy, get ready to experience piss in a new way you've never even thought was possible. The final showdown. This is the it, to be precise. All your hard work dying in the facility has led up to this. So, what are the girls to do? Well, we start in the room the last mission ended in, and holy fuck are we loaded. We got all this ammo and guns and bombs. Holy shit, something is about to go down. As Dr. Wheelchair says, we have to initiate the resonance reversal to seal the dimensional rift and save the planet. Not your typical Wednesday. We need to use the displacement beacon to initiate it, but there might be some trouble keeping it up. And if there's anything Dr. Wheelchair's familiar with, it's trouble keeping it up. Let me start off by saying this. The start to this mission is so fucking slow. It's so painful. You just listen to Dr. Wheelchair go on and on and on about some stupid nerd shit, which is fine if it happened once. But you have to listen to his spiel every single goddamn time you restart this level. Every time you boot in, you're gonna grab your ammo, open the door for him, walk his Hot Wheels-shaped ass to the elevator, meet him downstairs, walk him through the hallway, listen to his introduction, then go outside. Every single time. If you go as quickly as possible through this, there will always be at least 3.5 minutes of absolutely nothing until you get to shoot your first enemy. Every single time, 3 to 4 minutes of bullshit nothingness. But now what? We're outside and it's time to deploy the 3 crystals. It takes just under 2 minutes for each crystal to charge, so counting the time you'll spend running each lever, it'll be around 6 minutes before the beacon is fully charged. But during this, obviously, aliens are going to spawn in and attack. So the whole idea here is that you need to activate the beacon all the while aliens spawn in and try to destroy it. That, and staying alive of course, is your goal here. If the beacon takes too much damage, then it'll explode and the mission ends. Dr. Wheelchair points out that there's a bunker in the pit full of health and ammo, but he can't get it to open, so for the time being, you'll just have to survive with what you walked in with. You need to not take damage. I can't stress that enough. Remember how I said last mission was a test for something coming up? This is it. Make a plan and stick to it. The Magnum one-shots the Vorts, so that's your best bet to start with. But you cannot miss a shot. Every bullet counts here, and if you run out of ammo for any weapon, you've already got 1 foot in the grave. Once all 3 crystals are activated and the beacon is up, something happens. Dr. Wheelchair detects a massive energy surge coming through the rift, and wouldn't you know it, up in the sky, a massive fucking manta comes out of nowhere. Terrific. So now, along with an influx of Vorts and Grunts spawning in, there's an alien craft flying over us, and if it gets too many shots in, the beacon dies and we all go to hell. And as if all this chaos isn't unbearable enough, the game has a fucking seizure whenever it spawns in. And you just gotta love the frame rate here. There's Grunts shooting homing ammo all around us, meanwhile the PlayStation's about to have a stroke. So you die, and you die, and you die, then you die some more, a little bit more, maybe just a bit more, but you don't win. It's tough. It's bad. Health and ammo conservation is what it's all about. And all this going on while Dr. Wheelchair bitches like he's watching a hockey game. Like, Jesus Christ, shut the fuck up. All it would take is a pipe in those spokes and he would starve to death in front of a rock. Eventually, he gets so pissed with the bunker door jamming that he somehow sends a fucking missile down to blow it up. Like, what the hell is even going on here anymore? This is such a hellish mess. And how are we supposed to kill the alien craft, by the way? You would just assume shoot at it, and yeah, I guess so, but the game gives you no sign that you're making progress. The best route to take is to save all your missiles for it. You lock on when it shows up and pray to God the missile doesn't just jerk itself off and blow up spinning in a circle. Once you run out of missiles, it's just down to normal rounds. Just shoot and pray. The best, though, is how this game always wants you to suffer. First of all, I've had the Manta die and shoot the fatal shot at the same time to end the run. I've had the Manta land on me and blow me up. And towards the end, you'll just use whatever ammo you've got left. And if they're bombs, you'll be so desperate to keep everything away from you that you'll probably just accidentally blow yourself up. I spent over 3.5 hours perfecting this run, and eventually, the fucker died and we lived. Jesus fucking Christ. The green starts greening all over the screen, and we watch as the rift starts to deteriorate. The girls breathe and have an epileptic seizure. We get teleported around a bunch and even cross paths with someone awfully familiar for a split second. We wake up at blowjob level in front of Dr. Wheelchair and he reassures us that we did it. And scene. Roll credits. With the UI still on screen for some reason. Well, I gotta say, what the fuck? Why was this game like this? What an amazing concept turned dog shit due to uneven difficulty, unfair design, and piss-poor incentive to play with somebody else. And guess what? We're not even done. There's one more mission available as a bonus for making it all this way. So why not check a look? But before we indulge in our final anti-fun spree, let's remember all the good times we've had with Dr. Wheelchair and Dr. Jewish.
One primate must be inside as you can access. I fear that the scientists shouldn't be hard.
Someone, please help me get some investigative head.
The last and final mission of the game is a bonus mission in which you play as 2 vortigaunts making their way through the Black Mesa facility to retrieve 2 Zen crystals stolen from them by the G-Man. You would think this is like some kind of easy and fun little bonus mission, but there is no instruction on the rules and logic of these fucking vorts. As far as you know, left trigger shoots a beam and right trigger does a melee attack. Okay, but what the fuck is this? This is my health? Vague green bar on the bottom of the screen, huh? Sounds good, but it keeps going up and down. Why the fuck is it doing that? Well, let's step back for a moment. This mission, Mission 10, doesn't just unlock after beating Mission 9. No. To unlock this mission, you have to beat every previous mission with an A grade or higher on all 9 missions before it. Yeah, imagine that. All the fun you just had being miserable? Do that more, but better. So here we are, 2 vorts doing vort things. Meet subjects X8973 and R4913. Their mission is to retrieve a crystal sample stolen by the G-Man and take it back to their leader, Nyland. Classic X8973 and R4913 shenanigans. Like I said, you'd think that this would be an easy little bonus level, but this ended up taking hours to beat because nothing of the mechanics is explained to you. Initially, you'll be confused as to why your health keeps going up and down, but pretty soon you'll realize that it's because your laser beam seemingly sucks health out of enemies. Okay, so to regain health, you laser beam enemies. Well, guess what? If you can see the enemy, then the enemy can see you. And you know what they do if they see you? They shoot you with guns. So good luck regaining health. You'll fight some soldiers, then go through this tunnel. You'll have to avoid a sentry here, but it's a good opportunity to get some health. Eventually, after so many deaths, I figured out that your claw attack actually regains health for you too. So if you go up to a soldier and smack him a bunch, you'll do some regeneration. Check out this cheap trap. Isn't that fucked? You know, when there are no checkpoints and one person dying ends the whole mission, shit like this is just unbelievable. The first few areas suck, but it becomes even worse once you reach the storage bins. There's a bunch of black ops and they fucking suck. Of any mission in this game to use them, they chose the one where we're playing as Vorts with piss aim. Fuck this shit. Losing track of them here is a death sentence. But if you can manage to get through them, you'll find yourself in this hallway, and just under this annoying-ass flickering light is a dead scientist on a jeep. Boy, if I had a nickel. But basically, his model can't be destroyed, so you can just keep smacking him to regain health. But of course, where would the fun be without a random glitched death for fuck all reason? Thank you, game. So you push forward a little bit more through more soldiers, and now your job is to blow up this drum because for some reason it opens a gate. So after that explodes, more soldiers show up, and hallelujah, because I was starting to miss getting my shit rocked. So off to hell we send them, and look at that. The gate is opened, and in this truck, our crystals. Aren't we lucky? Good Christ, fuck that. Fuck all this stupid shit. This was so unfair, and I had to figure out everything on my own. What kind of fucked game designs unique mechanics and then never explains them? This was a nightmare because the devs don't know how to program the slightest amount of guidance. Well, that's it. So what's the verdict? Is it worth playing? Well, that depends on a lot. Let's give this game another try, but this time, a little bit different. There's two other ways we can go through this game, and both offer much different experiences. First, let's try this game solo. As I said earlier, Half-Life Decay is fully playable in single player, but it's clear the devs just gave you the option because it would suck not to have it. But can it still be fun? Well, I played it. Yeah, the whole game again, all 10 missions, just me, my DualShock, and the voices. And how was it? Well, you're not gonna believe this. It was actually pretty fun. Yeah, like, literally, I had a pretty great time. I beat almost every single mission in one try, including Mission 9. I'm serious, no jokes. It was just great. But why was that? Did I use cheats or something? No, I played through the whole game normally, but how does that even work? Well, basically, you just control both Gina and Colette, pressing the select button to switch back and forth between the two. Whichever girl is left alone will automatically shoot enemies within her view, so that way you don't have to worry about head crabs just walking into whoever's left alone until they die. They'll take care of enemies around them as long as they have ammo, and once they run out, they'll just fend off enemies with their crowbar until you move them or they die. It can be a bit confusing because if you leave one alone and the run suddenly ends, you won't know how they died. The game just tells you they did, but really that's hardly ever an issue. So what's the big difference between a human standing still in place and an AI standing in place? Well, here it is. The AI has what is virtually 100% accuracy. Every single shot. The AI doesn't have to deal with the fuck dual sticks or the ass sensitivity or the dick frame rate or the shit lock-on. They just look and shoot. Just make sure they're not out in the open and you can treat them like turrets. Revisiting some of these, like Mission 4, becomes surprisingly playable when you can focus on yourself and progress while the bot just shoots down everything with perfect accuracy. Even the final regular mission becomes a cakewalk when every enemy gets shot to death before you can even spot them. I mean, Christ, what a suddenly fun and playable game. What the fuck kind of thing is that? A multiplayer campaign that sucks all around unless you played alone. What the hell kind of fucked ass backwards design is that? And get this, I replayed the final mission, Zen, and it turns out, due to an oversight, if you lightly tap the left trigger and shoot your beam, you can repeatedly attack crates without actually doing damage to them so they don't get destroyed. So every single crate in the mission becomes an infinite health source. What a bunch of fucked bullshit. Well, that's that, single player and multiplayer, but what's left? Where would we be playing a PlayStation 2 game without cheats? 6th generation consoles and cheat codes go together like Hunter Biden and crack. Let's try this again, but with cheats on. Here in the cheat menu, we can input our codes and check off the ones we want to use. Now, it's worth noting that not all of these codes work in Decay. This bottom one called Alien Mode is only usable in the main campaign and just lets you play through it as a Vort. Kinda like the bonus mission in Decay. Cheats are fun. Cheats are cheats. They apply to both players and it's just fun to dick your way through the game with them on. Good old-fashioned funsies. And though I played through this game in 4x3 horizontal split screen, as you can see, if you were lucky enough to own a widescreen TV in the year 2001, you could experience the luxury of playing in 16:9 vertical split screen. Isn't it great? Wow, too bad the game sucks. As I've said, this game is a part of the Half-Life 2 PS2 port, so a head-to-head versus mode is included. Maybe soon in the future we'll check out this port as a whole and check out the other Half-Life content exclusive to the PS2. The stories of Dr. Green and Dr. Cross were never continued, and Valve never revived their work in this game as plot devices for any other Half-Life game. No one really knows what happened to the two after the events of Half-Life 1, but most believe they moved to Milwaukee and started a sitcom. Also, they might have the most ridiculous voices I've ever heard in a video game. One sounds like a voice-to-text synthesizer, and the other sounds like a Spice Girl.
I'm right behind you.
This is gonna be fun.
So why not Xbox or GameCube? Well, this was back in a time where most video games were actually developed for the platforms they were playable on instead of just being made for Android and then ported to everything. So when it came to ports, Gearbox wasn't the biggest company in the world. They had to focus on one project at a time, and of the options available, one of them made the most sense. And one made no sense, but I guess that's why it didn't work out. And these systems were all pretty different. Sure, you can build one port off another, which is what happened when going from Dreamcast to PS2, but once you're done with one system, at what point is it too late? And at what point is it the end of 2001, the game is 3 years old, the generation is almost 2 years through its life cycle with better looking games, the game's sequel has been in development, and the industry as a whole just flat out moved on to newer and more exciting things. Today, this game is barely remembered. Famously, a fan port called Solo Mission has been in development hell forever. But of what's available so far, it's pretty good. It features Decay's missions redesigned to be playable single player, and it does a pretty great job at it. If you want to play some Half-Life and even dare to have fun playing it, check out Solo Mission on Steam. Even though only some missions are available, it's a really great mod and it's free to play. Well, in my opinion, Half-Life Decay is meant for one kind of person, and that kind of person is someone who wants to beat Half-Life Decay. If you don't want to beat Half-Life Decay, you won't. If you can find someone else who is just as determined to beat the game as you are, you and them are in for what is primarily a miserable time worsened by a lack of checkpoints. Virtually all of Decay's flaws are legitimized exclusively because of this game's lack of checkpoints. The hard difficulty, the inconsistent performance, the controller bullshittery, the respawn tedium, all design quirks turned behemoth horsecock-sized flaws due to every single death sending both you and your sorry sack partner back to square one. I can repeat everything I've said in this video to reiterate my point, but the absolute best way to summarize how this game does Half-Life co-op so wrong is by reminding you how much more fun I had playing this alone. To play this co-op game co-op is a fucking nightmare on skates. Playing this co-op game solo? Pretty fun. That's how you know the game designers fucked up. Multiplayer is the very core of this, but doing so sucks. This game, at its core, is very good, but it is essentially ruined by very stupid decisions. Maybe someday in the near future, Valve will get off their lazy asses and give us a proper, well-designed multiplayer Half-Life campaign. Yeah, right. Well, maybe if we're lucky, if we ever find ourselves returning to the Half-Life universe, we'll see Gina and Colette return, and maybe even Dr. Jewish and Dr. Wheelchair. But as far as we know, they're all dead. I'm Bearman, and I've been wasting your time. Thanks for watching.
Let's get started. When Dr. Freeman is ready upstairs, they'll want to begin the experiment, so you'll need to retrieve the sample, Dr. Cross. And I'll let Dr. Green into the test
Dr.
chamber.
Keller.
Hello, Dr. Rosenberg. We're sort of in the middle of something right now.